On a Wednesday. Going to have a great show because we had some big news yesterday in the world of college football. The Big Ten and also the Pac 12 both decide to cancel the fall football season. They will attempt to play their football season in the spring of 2021. I have some concerns about that happening, but I also think the Big Ten is lying to itself and lying to all of us about the main reason and the biggest reason why they are not playing football this fall. So, Power 5 college football, is it on life support? I think that's something we'll talk about throughout the day. We've got a video, Reese Davis from ESPN, to play from you guys. What's the biggest factor for why the Big Ten and Pac 12 cancel the fall football season? We'll get into that. Offensive lineman Trey Smith from Tennessee had some quotes about spring football and the likeliness of that happening. And then we'll get into our confidence level of any Power 5 college football happening this fall. And then we have to diagnose what happened to Urban Meyer on live TV yesterday. So a couple videos to play. So after we talk serious college football, Zach, we will have some fun and talk about very sunburned Urban Meyer and the half-naked man in the background while he was on the Big Ten Network right after the conference canceled the season. Then, Zach, throwing shade, which I think I've already know what your shade is. I think we both have very strong shade today. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, I came with my shade this morning as we were doing our pre-show discussion, and I just got into a bind. And I think that a lot of people feel this bind. And so we'll call out that. There's only one man that can fix it. I do know the man that can fix it. But, we're going to have a good show today. It's unfortunate of the news that we heard yesterday. I think Austin and I disagree on some things on why things happen. But that Urban Meyer video, Austin, I'm just going to go ahead and say this. And I'm sure you've been the same way, of things that I've wanted to say to you, but I can't live on air, of like, what are you doing? Stop it. Don't do that. Urban Meyer felt that on live television. So great video, and you'll hear the audio for everybody working on podcasts on iTunes and SoundCloud and all that. But before we get started, please share the broadcast. Please share the show. Bottom right corner of your screen, if you're watching on Twitter/Periscope, you'll see those three little dots. You can share the broadcast that way. Tap that bad boy and retweet the broadcast to your Twitter followers' timeline. We need to pop up in that timeline. Also, Facebook, what's going on Facebook? What's going on YouTube? What's going on Twitch? Got a big win yesterday on all those platforms on Blitz. But
you did.
For today, bottom left corner, or left corner of your screen, share now to public. That is share now to public. You'll see sharing is caring on Facebook, and we need to pop up in your Facebook friends newsfeed. We're going to discuss college football. Will it happen? Things are trending the other way. Now, the SEC and other conferences made their statements, but the Big Ten and the Pac-12 made big statements yesterday. Want to hear your opinion on today's show. So without further ado, let's get this party started.
Yep, let's get it going officially. Welcome into A to Z Sports, powered by TennesseeTickets.com. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Zach Bingham. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at A to Z Sports, like our Facebook page at A to Z Sports Nashville. We are Nashville's on-demand sports talk network, and we go live every weekday morning at 8 Central Time. Got to thank our sponsors because they make it all happen for us and for you guys. RentersWarehouse.com, Nashville's professional landlords. RentersWarehouse.com is where to go to find out how much your home can rent for. Mandu, the pulse of fitness, where one 15-minute workout equals 5+ hours in the weight room because of the science of Mandu. Mandu.com. Your first workout is absolutely free. The Tucker Agency, Nashville's independent insurance agency, giving you relief by saving you an average of 20% on your personal insurance. TuckerTN.com. Calvin and Settle for your new hardwood floors and finishings in the mid-states. CalvinandSettle.com. And the Bone and Joint Institute of Tennessee, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care, boneandjointtn.org. Did a fun video yesterday, Zach, with Dr. Looney of Bone and Joint, talking about why Jadeveon Clowney really hasn't been signed yet.
Got a lot of good feedback from that video. You're going to learn a ton about Jadeveon Clowney's injury and sports hernias, which I don't think the common man knows what the hell a sports hernia is, the fact that it's different than a regular hernia, and what you have to do to get back to full peak performance if you're an athlete, if you have one. So great, spitting some very big knowledge yesterday from Dr. Looney. So props to him and the Bone and Joint Institute. Always good here on the show.
Yeah, you can go find that video talking Clowney and the sports hernia on our YouTube, our Facebook, and our Twitter timelines as well. So let's get into this, Zach. So yesterday, it officially became official that the Big Ten and little brother to the Big Ten, the Pac-12, decided to cancel the fall football season.
Cancel.
And postpone to the spring, whatever you want to. No fall football is happening in the Big Ten and the Pac-12. That is 40% of the Power 5 football teams that will not play. And then you add on the MAC, you add on the Mountain West Conference. You've got UConn, UMass, independent schools who have already canceled their seasons as well. I saw there are 130 football bowl subdivision teams, and I've seen over 50 will not play already. So what was your initial reaction to the news becoming absolutely official yesterday with the Big Ten and Pac-12?
Running away. That's exactly what I was like. Well, here's another group of people running away instead of trying and figuring it out. That was my first initial reaction. We live in cancel culture, which I hate, drives me nuts. Sometimes things need to be canceled, right? Like Jeffrey Epstein and Harvey Weinstein, those guys needed to be canceled, right? Probably Matt Lauer and that needed to be canceled. But sometimes you don't just run away and quit. And I felt that the Big Ten found the easy way out and just said, hey, look, and it's all political as we've talked about, but that was my first thought. Run away from all of your problems. That never solves anything. God knows the reason why the divorce rate's so high in this country in 2020 is because we are so quick to run away from our problems. You're going to have issues in whatever you do. If it's business, if it's in friendships, is it in relationships? Don't just run away. Talk through it. God knows A to Z Sports wouldn't have lasted 30 minutes, 30 days, 60 days if we'd have just run away from all of our arguments and problems. But Austin and I find a way to work through all of this stuff, just like a lot of people in America. But Big Ten, their commissioner, and the Pac-12, who's just a guppy, they just said, look, hey, I'm out. I'm gone. Peace. Yeah. Problems. I don't like them.
Right. And it's unfortunate because there's a lot of players, there's a lot of people who will lose their jobs. Players will lose their opportunity, their chance to get with this. So, and Chris says, are you serious with this? Do you realize the coronavirus is a real thing? We're not saying that it's not a real thing.
And I'm not saying, no, Chris, hey, we can't I will explain what I just said. Chris, I am not sitting here jockeying for the Big Ten to have full stadiums, right? I'm not for football to go back to the way that it was in 2019. Don't get that misconstrued. But they up and quit. They had their players set up, practice, their coaches working. They had a plan. They decided to only play conference games. And then all of a sudden they pulled the rug because they didn't want to deal with it. That's the cold, hard facts there, Chris.
And Chris brings this up with a campus of students from all over the country coming back. Well, but they're all coming back. They're not worried about the students living in dorms. They're not. I mean, there's some of the classes are going to be virtual, but it's hypocritical for universities and university presidents because I feel for the athletic directors. I really feel for coaches and staffs, and I very much feel for the players who have had their fall football season robbed from them. But the fact that colleges are allowing the dorms to reopen and that they are actually allowing the college football players and other athletes on campus to continue workouts and drills, which was coming out of national reports yesterday, but they just can't play the games. There's something else to this, and we're going to dive into that. But I do want to play this for everybody. This is Reese Davis of ESPN, who's one of the most prominent voices nationally in college football on ESPN. Him reacting on NFL Live to the Big Ten.
Listen up to this. This is important for you, Chris Cole.
Chris, listen to Reese Davis.
Reese, it's been just some 20 minutes or so since we got news that the Big Ten is postponing its fall football season. What was your reaction to this major announcement?
I wasn't surprised, as Kirk and others have said at the beginning, because it had been percolating the last couple of days, even though it was just not too long ago that they had released a schedule. So the question was, what changed? And if it is indeed medical information, then it's incumbent on the Big Ten to share this medical information with the population at large, not just in sports. Because if they're not playing because of myocarditis, which I'm not a doctor, that may well be a reasonable thing. But if that is a risk, then why are we playing Major League Baseball? How are we going to play the NFL? Why, if anybody gets infected in the NBA bubble, then, how is it safe to do that as well? We need this medical information for everyone to evaluate. There are other doctors who look at it differently. The ACC's head of the medicine talks about that it's possible to play a football season safely. How do you weigh that information against the information that has apparently led the Big Ten to this decision? So, I'm interested to hear this. I want to know what that medical information is, and if it's the wise thing, then that's great. But the independent nature of each conference making these decisions, and not necessarily seemingly coming from a place of collective information, is a little bit frustrating.
So the commissioner, that's Reese Davis from NFL Live yesterday on ESPN, talking about the Big Ten deciding to cancel. The Pac-12 quickly followed because they can't make decisions of their own. But Reese Davis talking about the commissioner of the Big Ten, saying Kevin Warren, saying that the medical concerns and risks were too strong. And you heard Reese Davis bring up myocarditis, which is the inflammation of the middle layer of the heart wall caused by a viral infection. Usually severe cases can weaken the heart, which can lead to heart failure, abnormal heartbeat, and sudden death. And that's something that people are looking at for a potential long-term risk and long-term effects of what the coronavirus could be. But I'm looking at Reese Davis, and he's trying to call out the Big Ten and the Pac-12 and maybe any of these other conferences who are citing medical reasons for not playing. And he's saying, tell us, let us know, let the country know, let the world know of why you guys can't play, but the Major League Baseball season continues with viruses, positive cases on teams and without. The NBA bubble, the NHL, college, the NFL is continuing to move forward. The PGA, NASCAR has been going for months, but why can't college football? And that takes me to another opinion about how I feel about this. And I want to dive into this because I think the Big Ten is lying to us and lying to itself about the real reason they decided to cancel their football season. And I will give you guys what I think that real reason is. But first, let me tell you about the workout I'm doing later today. That's Mandu. Mandu is the Pulse of Fitness. It's a 15-minute workout, and that 15 minutes simulates 5+ hours in the regular weight room because you're doing 15 minutes of full body electronic muscle stimulation. Mandu.com, your first workout is absolutely free. The results are real because the science is real, and maybe your regular gym, it has some type of restrictions and you don't feel comfortable. Mandu is by appointment only, and there's only really a maximum of 3 or 4 people in the room the whole time. Mandu.com, your first workout is absolutely free.
A to Z Sports. We've got a great show still on tap. I do want to read one comment. It
Sure.
probably goes to your theory, I would say, about the Big Ten. Also, don't forget today we're defending the crown 1-0. If you're watching me play Blitz, it's a blast. It's a fun time for all. Fun for the whole family. We're kid friendly. They love video games. You love video games. That will happen today. Look for our social media of when that is going to go on. I do want to read this, and again, it may support your argument, but I found it very, very curious that this happened, and it's TN Titan 7. They released the schedule 7 days ago, and then all of a sudden they cancel kind of randomly. Not a good look. So my question would be, and this kind of goes to what we're about to talk about, is what happened? And it's what Reese Davis said. What happened in 7 days that changed your mind, right? Why did all of a sudden you decide to ditch? something. There's a reason why.
Right. And remember what I brought up on Monday, because I talked about a conversation I had with somebody who works in Power 5 college football on Sunday. And Monday I told you there's two types of lawsuits. There's a long-term effects lawsuit of players playing this season, catching coronavirus. 20 years later, they have lung issues, heart issues, coming back and suing that institution. Then
It's
there's
hard
another
to win that suit.
but then there's another lawsuit of immediate lawsuit of a senior who might have NFL aspirations, but really doesn't. But they catch coronavirus in October. They're out for 3 weeks. They come back. They're out of shape because of what the coronavirus does to your body, and their play significantly drops off, and they go undrafted. They lose hundreds of thousands of dollars, potentially millions of dollars from not getting an NFL opportunity because their play dropped off, when they could say, if we didn't play in the fall, I could have still had my NFL shot because my tape wouldn't have looked so bad after having the coronavirus. So those are the two lawsuits. But the real reason why the Big Ten and the Pac-12 is canceling their fall football season is not the coronavirus. It's not player safety. And we'll talk about that more with the spring coming up later. But what's the main difference in Major League Baseball, in the NFL, in the NBA, NHL, the PGA, NASCAR, the Professional Women's Soccer League, MLS, and college football? There's one huge difference. It's employees versus student athletes. And that right now, what changed, Zach, is the university presidents got more involved over the last week than they had been prior. Beforehand, it was more about athletic directors working with coaches, working with their staff and their player, with the medical professionals, to make sure that their workouts that they've been doing since June were done safely and that they were handling things properly for the virus. And they've been doing that for nearly 2.5, almost 3 months. And now all of a sudden you decide to change your mind to cancel it. It's because the university presidents are absolutely petrified of college athletes unionizing because they should be employees. They are treated like employees. And right now, with what's happening with the coronavirus, is you can tell an employee what to do because you're their employer, right? You can bubble the NBA and you can bubble a little bit and control the outside lives of NFL players. You can't do that with scholarship athletes. Protecting amateurism is the reason why fall football is not happening, because they need time to prepare for what the students are and what the players are going to do.
So my rebuttal to that, because I don't agree with it, is why does the SEC not feel this way? Why does the ACC not feel this way?
Well, we don't know that they don't.
Well, we kind of do, because they haven't come out, and if they were scared to death of your theory, they would have canceled their football seasons for the fall too.
Well, it's
why didn't they?
Well, they haven't yet. That's not. They still have the opportunity, and we're going to talk about.
They're trying to play. They have actually publicly come out and saying we want to play. We are trying to play. The chancellor of your former university wants to play. That didn't make any sense. Right. What you just said.
Well, I think it's because you haven't really seen many SEC players rise up and talk about unionization. Where in the Big Ten and the Pac-12, recently the Pac-12 players, and then a couple of years ago with Northwestern players in the Big Ten talking about unionization, there's been more discussion about that in those two conferences recently than the SEC and the ACC. And Alex says the SEC is always the last domino, and Louis says the SEC is printing checks ASAP. I think the SEC knows that, one, it just means more, and that they have a lot of opportunities available by being the last domino, or maybe having the possibility of owning the college football fall by themselves, where they're not necessarily as worried about it as the Big Ten presidents are.
Why are they not as worried about it as amateurism? That goes across all of college football. Your theory doesn't make sense. It doesn't make all of the college football world sense. It doesn't.
We Rock All Night says, to be fair, they've all said we'll see. And the SEC.
I'm asking you. Can you answer me, why is the SEC not scared of amateurism and the Big Ten is? It's not the millions of dollars is not that far off. The SEC makes more money, but the Big Ten is a massive Power 5 conference. Yeah, why are they so scared in your theory, and the SEC and the ACC is not?
Look, I don't know the differences of how presidents work in the Big Ten versus the SEC universities. I don't know how those university presidents are different, but basically, it's because the SEC, the ACC, and the Big 12, what they're doing is they're just kicking the can down the road as far as possible just to see what happens. They're not saying that they're not afraid of losing the amateurism model. Like, they definitely are. They're not going to. They don't want their players to be ruled as employees. But I think SEC schools also understand that the name, image, and likeness movement that was tabled recently in the NCAA is a good thing for the student athletes and can be a good thing for their universities.
All right, so I'll tell you why you're incorrect. And Hunter has half of the word. He doesn't. I've created a new word. It's not because of amateurism, Austin. You need to put that at the door. It's because of coronatics. It's not politics. It's coronatics. That's what the president saw. And you should. So do you know Kevin Warren's background?
I know he's a former agent, but and I know
he's a lawyer. He's a former attorney.
Okay.
And
well, he's
the
also
reason,
a former agent, so I wasn't wrong.
But attorney and agent are two different industries. But
but he is a former agent.
For being a former attorney, he thinks in liability. You got it right the first time. It's not amateurism. It's the liability. And we talked about that.
I've been screaming liability for weeks.
Yeah, but now you're screaming amateurism. So I'm going to tell you why it's not amateurism. It's more liability and coronatics. He got the pressure. And as an attorney, the easier way to do is to not fight, because he has to represent not only himself and his conference, but a lot of other schools that in a democracy disagree. We know Iowa and Nebraska would rather say, go kick rocks, we want to play. But so that mindset of the attorney of not, and he probably knows more than, I would say, he probably knows more than the Pac-12 commissioner, Larry Scott, who, very smart individual, former tennis player, went to Harvard. I don't think he thinks that the Pac-12 just means more. Ivy Leagues have already canceled. This is coronatics. This is pressure from the outside and the donors that have a mindset that the coronavirus is the Black Plague. That's and that money is pressuring these two commissioners to start, because people in the South, the boosters in the South, and let's just go to the coronatics of it. The people in the South, the majority of them probably think less of the coronavirus. We've seen Florida. We've seen these governors come out and what their political views are, whether it's conservative or whatever you want to label it as. The coronatics of college football in the South, they want to play. They don't care about the virus. It's different on the West Coast, correct, where it's more democratic, more democratic, and then also in the Midwest where the pressure got to an attorney. And that's what happened, in my opinion.
All right,
this is not amateurism.
Let me read a quote from former attorney Kevin Warren, who is the commissioner of the Big Ten. Quote, "There's too much uncertainty at this time in our country. It's people first, it's students, and understand they're not professionals, they're amateurs." That's from your former attorney, Kevin Warren. Amateurism is a humongous player in this situation. The coronavirus is why we're here, right? The coronavirus has gotten us to having this discussion, but the bigger reason why college football is not happening this fall in the Big Ten and the Pac-12 is amateurism, because they cannot control these players like they're employees or professionals. They can't put them in a bubble. The liability concerns are out of this world for these university presidents. The amateurism model is why there's no football season in the fall. That is fact. The virus is having its impact. The virus has carried us to this situation, but amateurism and protecting that model is, I think, why there's no fall football.
Well, and that's the justification is, hey, Kevin, you got to protect these kids. This virus is deadly. You got to protect these kids. It's your responsibility. They look at it as, you're the parent to my kids. And that's, I think, the pressure that has gotten to Kevin Warren to cancel. In my personal opinion, I hope that the SEC, the ACC, and the Big 12 all play football successfully and do a big FU to the Big Ten and the Pac-12 and say, you can run away from all of your fears and all of your corona ticks. We're playing college football. Look, the stands are not going to be filled. We're not going to make as much money as we would have, but we're going to figure it out, at least find a way and not just quit like these two conferences did all of the sudden and rock the college football world.
All right, A to Z Sports here live on a Wednesday. We have a lot of show coming up left, and I think we got a good question here to get you guys more involved this morning. And we haven't done the confidence level question in a while with college football, but here's the question specifically: what's your confidence level in any Power 5 college football happening this fall? We're talking about any. Like, so if one of the Power 5 conferences plays, then you're correct, right?
Well, are we not doing virus versus amateurism? Because
virus. I think we've gotten through that discussion with the time in the show today. But let's go ahead and do this. Let's ask the people what's your confidence level 1 through 10 in any Power 5 college football happening this fall. But first, Zach, tell the people, if you would, about the Tucker Agency.
Yeah, the Tucker Agency can save you money in this coronavirus world that we live in that I want to get the hell out of. Tucker Agency can help you save money in this world. And Will and his team, Will Tucker, he's the head of the agency. His team can help you. Will at tuckertn.com. You could email him, say, I heard about you on A to Z Sports. How do I save money on my car insurance, life insurance, homeowners insurance, renters insurance? Nashville's independent insurance agency can. The average customer that emails him today, 20% off. You probably don't know how much you pay for your insurance, but you can save 20% off of that number. So go look it up. Go email Will at tuckertn.com, and save you some money there.
All right, A to Z Sports. Don't forget code AZ30 for 30% off anything at shop.a2zsportsnashville.com until football of any type returns on our TVs. AZ30 for 30% off, shop.a2zsportsnashville.com. So the question is, what's your confidence level 1 through 10 of there being any Power 5 college football this fall as the Big Ten and Pac-12 officially canceled fall football yesterday? They hope to play in the spring. We'll talk about that still today on the show. So reading some comments out of the gates real quickly. Jeff Rubel says he's at 5%. So we're going 1 through 10. So the 1 through 10 equivalent of 5% is pretty close to a damn 1. So Louis says 8.8. Bama Shane says a 5. Sean says 7. Tress says 8 out of 10. SEC is going to break their backs and make it happen. So he's confident that at least the SEC will play. Brad says with at least one conference playing 100%, there will be at least one. Johnny says 2. John Michaels says 8. Brad says 10. Some of these are a lot higher than I expected. Jeff Rubel says 2. The people I talk to and follow that are in the know say no one is playing this fall. Mookie says 3.
Yeah, Jeff Rubel's got that Ohio State mindset.
Yeah, Jeff Rubel's Big Ten Jeff. Can we call him Big Ten Jeff now?
Big Ten Jeff. Yeah, and you know what? It's fitting the day after Big Ten quits. We'll call him Big Ten Jeff.
Big Ten
Jeff.
Jeff.
You've got Big Jeff on the Titans, and you got Big Ten Jeff.
Big Ten Jeff. So Bobby says got to be at least a 2. Alex says 7. College football will play. Dom says 10, and Alex continues that it won't finish. Brian says 2.5, and if not for the SEC, 0. So he's saying the SEC is the only thing that he's holding out. Hunter with a 9.5. Danny, the season started after the election, he would say 10. Shrike says 4. Steven with a 6. Titans for Life says 1. Zach, Ethan Ramsey says 3. Zach, what is your answer 1 through 10?
That college football in any capacity will happen. I'm actually at a 7.5. I think
you're thinking that there's at least basically the chances of at least one Power 5 conference play.
And I think it's the SEC because the SEC doesn't mind sticking the middle finger up the ass of the Big Ten and the Pac-12 and saying, if you don't want your money, we'll take your money. Because the SEC, and it's the Corona tick. I need to trademark Corona ticks. But for the South, I do believe that it's a mindset. And we had somebody called me out earlier. Kyle G says Zach wants out of Corona world, but doesn't want to do anything to make that happen. Well, different philosophies, Kyle. Look, I respect your opinion. You probably seem like a Corona bro, which is fine. That's okay. But I think that to make that happen, you have to actually take steps to get back to live life. So I think running away and hiding in your house is not the solution, because the virus is not leaving this world. It's not. It's here. It's never going away. It's going to be here. And some vaccine that, Kyle, I don't think you're a scientist. I don't know. I'm not one. I don't think it's a magic elixir to just banish it off of this globe. So I think we should at least start taking a series of actions to get back to somewhat normalcy, to change the American mindset. Do I think the election has a big thing to do with it? Yes, I do. But that's in November. That's another time. Today, sitting here in August, in early August, I think that the SEC will play. I think if the SEC finds a way to play, then others look. There are leaders in this world and there are followers. I'm a leader. I don't follow. I think others will follow. The Pac-12, that's a following conference.
Clearly.
I think the ACC and I think the Big 12 is probably the follower out of the two, but I think the ACC and the SEC are torch carriers to say, hey, let's bring on. The Big 12 kind of been silent. That's the only reason why I say
the Big 12 has actually been last in everything.
And that's why I've said they've been silent.
Right. So
I don't really know what they feel. Maybe they're like, we're going to play. We're just not going to tell anybody.
How about this? Let me see if you follow this. The Big 12 is to the SEC as the Pac-12 is to the Big 10.
Say again?
The Big 12 is to the SEC as the Pac-12 is to the Big 10.
Yes.
The Big 12 waits for the SEC just like the Pac-12 waited for the Big 10. I think the ACC is willing to make their own decisions because they did. I thought the ACC did the best job when it came to their expanded schedules. I want to go back to Monday, and I want to play you this because people were asking the question: what's your confidence level 1 through 10 in there being any Power 5 college football this fall? And let's remember what Dan Patrick said on Monday and listen to the details that he was discussing and how he talked about the SEC.
Here's the information I got almost an hour ago. The Big Ten and Pac-12 will cancel their football seasons tomorrow. The ACC and the Big 12 are on the fence. The SEC is trying to get a delay to have teams join them. The SEC is looking at exclusive TV contracts. So once again, then I followed up with my source and I said, so the Big Ten and Pac-12 canceled tomorrow. That's what I'm told this morning. 3 Big Ten teams that I've spoken with said it's done. And I followed up by saying, so the SEC might go alone and bring in other schools. That's the latest. They're trying to buy time, according to my source, to see if the ACC or Big 12 will go along with them.
So that's Dan Patrick from Monday. And so far, he's right because today is Wednesday, and on Tuesday, which was tomorrow on Monday, he said that the Big Ten and the Pac-12 would cancel. And cancel. Absolutely. So Dan Patrick so far correct. Now, will he be correct about the other 3 Power 5 conferences? God,
I hope so.
Yeah, I mean, me too. I worked out last night, and I was wearing a Southeastern Conference Under Armour t-shirt, and I put it on, and I thought, man, I really hope we get the SEC. I really hope the SEC can save us from a complete disaster of college football. So 1 through 10, Zach, you said what, 7.5? Yep. I'm lower than that. I'm much lower than that. For any Power 5 college football, I'm at a 4 out of 10. I just feel like, and I want to scroll back up. Hopefully I can scroll back.
I think the SEC will play by itself regardless. That's why I'm higher.
At some point, I don't think they will be able to. I think if the ACC and the Big 12 decide to cancel, I think the SEC will eventually follow. So Jonathan Crompton said this earlier in the show. The SEC, ACC, and Big 12 are slow playing. It makes them all look, quote, better. And then if they cancel later, they go back and claim that they found more info instead of the backlash of so quickly canceling now. I agree with that.
I think the longer from yesterday, the cancellation of the Big 12 and the Pac-12, to Crompton's point, the longer it goes, I actually think the better, because you get away from the cancel culture. Oh, you canceled? Oh, I need to cancel. Oh,
Right,
they
yeah,
canceled?
right, yeah,
I need to cancel.
There's less of a reaction and more of like your own decision making.
Right.
And like we're still waiting. We've been told since like Monday by Paul Feinbaum that the SEC was going to release its actual like weekly schedule in the next few days. Well, we're almost up with the next few day timeline on that. And we still don't know. And it is crazy of how quickly the Big Ten went from releasing its schedule to 6 days later canceled. And so things can change very quickly on a dime. And it's all about the university presidents. And that's what sucks right now because B-Hall, hey, B-Hall, I don't know where B-Hall's been in a while, but glad to have you back commenting. He says Greg Sankey's the most powerful man in college football if he plays this fall. While I would agree with that, it's not really up to Greg Sankey. It's up to 14 SEC university presidents. Like that's who's making the decisions.
And their boosters want to play college football. The boosters of the Pac-12 and the Big Ten Conference, the majority of them are Corona bros. That's the difference. And that's why I am at a higher level because people in the South, let's just categorize them, they want college football. And they are less afraid of the coronavirus than the Corona bros. It's the facts. Like, you cannot deny that. And so that's why it makes more sense that those presidents of the Southeastern Conference are more likely to vote yes and find a way than no and run for the hills.
I agree with Captain Kronk. I think everybody wants football. Just like I can't stand.
I disagree.
No. I think people who are college football fans all want football regardless of what conference they come from.
Then these presidents of the university are not football fans?
Probably not. They're not football fans like
So
we
then
all want.
everybody does not want
Zach,
football.
what did I say? Everybody who is a college football fan wants football. A lot of high-ranking academia people are not football people. They think athletics is being spent way too much money and resources on, and that's their opinion because they're academic type people. And that, look, you need a balance of both. But I think, and here's the shocker of the whole show. Bama Shane says his brother-in-law is a university president. How in the world Bama Shane has bloodlines through marriage to a university president is the shocker of 2020 to me. Shane.
Damn, early shade on Bama Shane.
No, I love Shane. Shane's a great guy. But I do find that funny because we talk about Bama Shane. But anyway, but I'm guessing Bama Shane's brother-in-law is a university president probably at like Jacksonville State. Where
If there
Bama
was
Shane
one
has
university
deep
that I would guess it would be Jacksonville
Yes,
State
because
of the ties.
Yes, because of the ties that Bama Shane loves Jacksonville State. But anyway, I'm at a 4 out of 10. I just feel like it's not going to happen. And it's because I have a lack of trust and belief that university presidents will go forward with it. I think it's absolutely the right thing to do to play college football. Like the fact that they've been doing workouts and meetings for almost 3 months already, like makes me feel like they can play the season. And the fact that Barry Alvarez at Wisconsin said yesterday that the plan is for them to continue workouts and continue drills, just not having games, like they're already doing this. So they have the ability to, if they're going to continue to practice and work out in the fall without games, then 10 games is not that big of a difference.
Yeah, and you would think that common sense would come into play at some point. And you know what? Here's the benefit. I think they're going to play. You think that they're probably not going to play.
Because I have and John Michael says Austin always being the negative Nancy on the show. I don't believe or trust in university presidents to go forward with it.
And that's fair.
That's my like prediction. Like it's not what I would do. Like I would do everything I possibly can to play, but I don't trust university presidents as far as I can throw them.
I think the university presidents, at least to the Southeastern Conference, will come around and see that the dollar figure that college football truly makes them to make their lives and their jobs a lot easier to progress their universities and to go to the board of directors and say, this is what I've done to keep them in good standing will make them play football. And I hope common sense comes through and says, well, the kids have been practicing and playing and they just haven't been playing in a field. if you don't have fans, right? Like I'm okay. I think we're all accustomed with the bubble stuff going on in pro sports right now. Don't have fans. And so I think you can accomplish it. I think they will play. And I think here's the time is on their side. And that was the philosophy as we've kind of now peeled back the orange is you look at it and you say the September 26th is the date, right?
Yeah, that for the SEC, correct. Yeah.
That's a long time.
Well,
it's only
now
August 12th.
Now, I want to say August 17th is fall camp opens in the SEC, which is Monday.
Well, they can open it up. I think they're going to open it. It's about playing games. They could cancel September 24th if they wanted to, right? I mean, they can cancel whenever. When you cancel something, it's sorry, bud, we're closed, sold out, no more. So, that I think is the benefit of why I'm a little bit more optimistic is they've got plenty of time to kind of churn along, let this old cancel BS of the Pac-12 and the Big Ten die down, continue to go about their protocols, study the safety mechanisms, as the commissioners have said, of the schools still involved, and then make a decision that is more logical than the other two conferences that made a decision yesterday.
Yeah, so I'm at a 4 out of 10, and really the 4 is because of the SEC. And I do believe that the SEC is going – the reason why they delayed the start of their schedule to that September 26th date that you're talking about, Zach, and the reason why is because they want to wait as long as possible to make sure they have the best plan to move forward. And if fall camp for the SEC team starts on Monday with full practices – then that's a great thing. And Bama Shane brings something up. Let's be real. They ain't playing ball in the spring.
So let's have that quick conversation.
Exactly.
I think that's important.
I absolutely agree. And I'm gonna read some quotes from Vols offensive lineman Trey Smith as well, who Zach Reagan wrote about this on our website, A2ZSportsNashville.com, about what's going on with spring football. Before we dive into that conversation, let me tell you about the Bone and Joint Institute. Don't fumble on your recovery. Look, guys, injuries absolutely happen. And when you do get hurt, when you do get injured, make sure you go to the right place to get yourself back to full strength as soon as possible and in the best way possible. And that is the Bone and Joint Institute of Tennessee, boneandjointtn.org. You see that gorgeous building right there on the bottom right of your screen? Everything happens in that building, not like in most bone and joint institutions where you got to go to one place to see the doc, then you got to go another place for the imaging, then you got to go back to the doctor, then you got to go to another building for the surgery, then the rehab is like miles away. Bone and Joint has it all, everything right there, boneandjointtn.org.
A to Z Sports, we do have a little bit of an update on news. Brett McMurphy 9 minutes ago tweeted out the Big 12 will have a noon Eastern news conference where Commissioner Bob Bowsley will provide an update on the 2020 fall sports season. So I don't expect it to be a cancellation of that said season, but an update. And maybe that's a good thing. Maybe more information of maybe it's, hey, we're trying to play or something of that nature. The other thing and the last thing I want to say before we get to the spring sports conversation, which I think is a good one, is this is what I think more should happen. More sports should do. And this is all I'm asking for. And we had, I think Cole called out earlier, is like, you know, to make them play is not just don't just cancel things. Churchill Downs announced that the stands on September 5th for the Kentucky Derby will be less than 14% full and have issued a 62-page safety plan. At least there's a plan.
Yeah,
and you know what the first response of that, the first response that I saw, it's kind of funny. At Common Sense is the Twitter. But the response to that tweet from Darren Ravel is, why bother? Just cancel it. Like, I can't hate a tweet more than I hate that one. At least try. Like, don't we teach our kids? Like, isn't that like a parent thing? Like, my dad always said that. Like, and I've quit things before, but have the justification of why you're going to do it, and don't just quit before you actually give effort. You may not want to be a pianist, but if you go and you do piano recitals and at least you tried, you gave an effort, and then you can decide.
I just feel
these conferences are like, no.
I feel like Darren Ravel is turning into a caricature of himself, which is ridiculous. Rob says horses can't run in masks. That's funny. All right, so here's what Vols offensive lineman Trey Smith had to say about the idea of a spring football season. I think he's dead on right. And remember, Trey Smith is somebody who's worked with blood clots for the last several years and is one of the higher risk college football players in America. And he's talking about playing this season. He says, quote, "You would have to push the next season back and probably even have to delay the next year. In my opinion, you want to have a proper offseason for our bodies to rest and get better. You can't have it in the spring and then start on time in 2021. He says, continues, "We as players have to make the proper precautions ultimately to get to my dream goals and aspirations. It's worth the risk for me to play in the fall." That's Trey Smith there. If it's worth the risk for Trey Smith, I think that means a lot. And what he says about you want to have a proper offseason for our bodies to rest and get better. You can't have it in the spring, then start on time in 21. He's absolutely right. And if you're out here, running with a front of player safety with the coronavirus, you couldn't be more hypocritical by saying player safety is so important to not play in the fall, to turn around and play football in the spring and say we care about player safety. Get out of here with that. You don't care about player safety like you say you do, because playing football in the spring and then playing in the fall, that's the opposite of player safety, because that's like nearly impossible for players to play 20 plus games.
Didn't say that they were going to play in the fall again.
Zach, you know that they're going to try to get back as quick as possible. I'm just
saying they didn't come out and say that they're going to. We're assuming that. I'm the last person to support the Big Ten and the Pac-12 in their decision making, but to their credit, they never once said that they were going to play fall 2021. They just didn't. So that's a big assumption of what they're going to do. Maybe in the weird realm, maybe they decide that spring, because they're the only. I don't know. I don't know what the philosophy is, but they never said that. Do I think spring sports? Do I think that they'll actually do it? No, I don't. I think that they'll just cancel it and they'll play in fall 2021 and they'll just take it as a loss. And so that's what I think is happening. Oh, the cancellation yesterday is just to buy time for the Corona ticks and the Corona bros to die down. Not die out, die down.
And it's the liability factor. I think another reason for this is the amateurism thing, and the liability is
they're waiting on the vaccine to justify as a lawyer to say we have a vaccination to prevent or help prevent coronavirus. You can take that and be safe. And if you don't, your liability goes out the window because you chose not to take the precautions. That's what that's what they're waiting on. They're waiting for a lawyer out. And the attorney, Kevin Warren, the commissioner of the Big Ten, is a lawyer. That's what he's doing. It's not anything else. It's the liability to wait on the vaccine so he can write in a policy, take the vaccine and play, don't take the vaccine or leave.
Danny brings up a point that I'm glad he did mention. He says, if high school is playing and the NFL is playing, how are they going to explain not playing in the fall? And I'm glad you brought up that point, and that is because there is absolutely zero leadership at the top of all college football. In high school football situations, there is a state that has a government and that branches out from there into school systems in different counties that can make their decisions. And they showed that they try to listen to what the governor says when it comes to college, high school football. The NFL, there's only 32. And so all you got to do is make sure you get all 32 players on the same playing field and on the same in the same direction. With college football, there is who is Mark Emmert? Mark Emmert is the worst I've ever seen. Mark Emmert is awful. He is weak. He hides behind a blue circle logo that says NCAA, and he just says up to the schools. He made it up to the schools. It's up to the conferences, and the conferences don't work together unless it's TV money and bowls. And then there's another level, the football championship subdivision, that it's ridiculous how there's no leadership at the top of college football. And that's why I've thought for a long time that the NFL high school football is going to happen. The biggest thing in jeopardy is college football out of those three because there's no leadership. There's no same direction.
Yeah, and it's a moneymaker without leadership. I think that's the key. I agree with everything you just said. High school football doesn't make near the amount of money that college football does.
High school football
Doesn't make any money.
Makes a little bit of
sponsorship-
gate money. And
Yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah. And so that's the difference. And once money is infiltrated into a structure, you have to have leadership to organize said money. And so you're spot on with the leadership of why high school football and the NFL, again, you go back to employees and in America and really in general, you just want somebody to blame or to take responsibility. That's why we have a president, but we also have governing bodies like the House and the Senate underneath to regulate and to make sure that it's not a dictatorship, right? So there are checks and balances, and there are no structures of checks and balances. There is one in America. There's not one in college football.
There's
And
not.
I would question that the American one works sometimes, not all the time.
Right. And that's why I think you have, and because David says, can the NCAA step in and make an authoritative decision either way? Do they have any? That's why I think a lot of people are talking about this year, and because of the coronavirus, of the eventual split of the Power Five from the NCAA to then have a commissioner of the Power Five and have it being their own level of college football. So where all like the 65 or so schools in the Power Five conferences work under the same rules, right? And that would at least.
I don't know logistically or how that would be structured because there has to be a contract that they have with the NCAA, the association, and how would they have the out? Do they have the right to do that? The universities, we don't know enough about it.
The NCAA is already like barely involved with big time college football. The bowl subdivision, the FBS, is the only thing that the NCAA does not grant a national champion. The college football playoff is 100% separate from the NCAA. Now, the NCAA governs when it comes to recruiting violations and drug tests and stuff like that. But I think there already is a disconnect between FBS and the NCAA where I think this could be a catalyst to make that a complete break. Now, I don't know how that works out, but I think this could expedite that process.
Well, and on top of the reason why it hasn't happened today or thus far is because if that happens, which I think is a great idea, I think that you would agree with that. Having a commissioner, call it the Big Five. Ooh, that's sexy, marketing, all that. But if you do that, you have to find a way to pay the players. And I don't think that they have that, or nobody has gotten together and said, hey, let's figure out a way to do this so we can. Instead, they're just like, well, we don't have to pay the players. That's a lot of money. That's billions and billions of dollars. Let the NCAA take the fall on the sword and let them look bad instead of us.
Name, image, likeness. B Hall says they just passed name, image, likeness. I don't, unless that happened this morning. It didn't happen. They have tabled it. So they have discussed name, image, likeness and what that could look like at some point, but it has been tabled, I think, because of would it have been tabled if there was no coronavirus? Probably. But the big reason is that they had other things to tackle in the immediate. So, but that's where it starts, name, image, likeness when it comes to that conversation. All right, A to Z Sports. And Rick says that's in California. Yeah, California and Florida have done that within their state. And that is helping to add pressure to the NCAA to move that forward. All right, so we've talked a lot of serious college football discussion for 53 minutes. Outside of me making fun of Bama Shane's family, we've talked a lot of serious stuff. Now we're going to diagnose what happened with Urban Meyer's live hit on the Big Ten Network yesterday. And Zach, we will get to that. We'll play you this video of Urban Meyer sunburnt to a crisp and just having a pure dad moment, but it wasn't a young child. It was a grown-ass man. And what happened with Urban Meyer's hit. But first, tell the people about Calvin and Settle.
Yeah, Calvin and Settle is where you need to get your hardwood floors. CalvinandSettle.com, 615-448-6414. Call them and say you heard about them on A to Z Sports, and they're going to give you a deal. Your wife's going to love you. You're going to upgrade your house, rip up all that nasty carpet that you've been in the house for God knows how many months because life has changed because of the coronavirus. Upgrade your house and the equity of your house with brand new hardwood floors that are cost effective. CalvinandSuttle.com. You call them at 615-448-6414. They come out to your house, use the CDC precautions. You pick out your perfect hardwood floor from their showroom or some samples. 1 to 2 weeks. They call in the material, they install in your house, and you have just upgraded your kitchen, your living room, your den, your bedroom, your dining room, whatever room you want upgraded to new hardwood floors. They can help you out. CalvinandSuttle.com, 615-448-6414.
All right, A to Z Sports. Zach, you defending the crown. You went 1-0 by beating the Bills yesterday. Who you got today?
We're going to Kansas City. Actually,
That's right.
Kansas City's coming to us.
Home
Home
opener.
game
Yeah.
in Adelphia Coliseum. The Chiefs trying to make it 2-0. We got a long, grinding 17-week season trying to defend the Super Bowl Blitz Championship.
All right, so if you missed this Urban Meyer video from yesterday, you're in for a treat. So I want you guys to do this.
Pay attention.
Yes, pay attention to the background. I have what I think I've nailed this diagnosis of what happened with Urban Meyer's Big Ten Network hit. So watch the video. I want to hear your opinions on what you thought happened before I give my theory. Here's Urban Meyer talking about the Big Ten cancellation live on TV yesterday.
You know, it's not your time as a coach or player to really give an opinion about something as serious as pandemic and medical causation. I'm hearing those words of litigation and, future issues. So you just got to trust that the people care and love you and go about your business and train as hard as you can. If there's a season, there is. If not, and you're a senior and get ready for the NFL, you got to do that too. So, we live under the world of E plus R equals O, and that means you can't control events in your life. You can control how you respond. Respond positively and move forward.
Yeah, so what would be, as a coach, give us a sense of kind of what that next step is? I know you talk a ton about the response. You talk a ton about the psychology of sport, but here you are in this most unusual situation where you expect.
So Urban Meyer's facial expressions is just like he was trying to be subtle, but in no way was subtle.
You
about
can't, because I was like, raise your shoulder, but you can't block them because nobody talks like this.
No. Well, and I don't even think Urban Meyer was aware of the reflection. I think because I think with his facial expressions, he wasn't reacting to it until the guy in the background on the reflection came up to him and was going to mess with him or do something. Who knows? What was this guy going to do to Urban Meyer that made him react that way?
Well, he was wearing he wasn't butt naked. He was wearing probably a bathing suit, and he was walking around with a beer in his hand.
Right. So most of you guys are like, Jeff says he was on a boat. Danny says he was on a boat. Frank says he was on a boat. That's my diagnosis, is that, of course, as the Big Ten cancels its season, Urban Meyer, Urban Meyer, who had to retire because of memory problems, is sitting on a fancy-ass yacht on the water and zooming while his drunk-ass buddy is back there behind him. And that's
more power to him. I don't like Urban Meyer, but I hope that I don't want the medical problems, but I would like to be on a yacht prior to football season with my buddies, sunburnt to a crisp, doing a spot that takes about 3 to 5 minutes, get paid, and go back out to my yacht.
But that's such an Urban Meyer move. Urban Meyer is an asshole. And Urban Meyer pulled that move yesterday.
What do you mean pull? What do you mean? What did he pull?
It's just the fact that that's who Urban Meyer is. He's the guy who just chills on a yacht while the rest.
Is that a bad thing?
No, that's something that he would do. That's just something that Urban Meyer would do.
Is that a negative thing? If you chill on a yacht, more power to you, brother.
I
want to be on a yacht. You want to be on a yacht. Let's just
but Urban Meyer is pretentious. And of course, when
pretentious, I mean, he's a bad guy, but being on a yacht, I don't think sets me off.
It's just the fact. It's the irony and the optics of college football's world crashing around the country, and Urban Meyer's doing a live hit, sunburnt to a crisp, sitting on a yacht.
That's
Like, it's just like-
exactly how I want a social distance.
That's just so Urban Meyer, though. Like,
Just
you
like
get that,
Daniel.
right? Like, Urban Meyer uses an out of memory problems, and he's already used an out of a heart condition to retire from Florida. And then
I mean, if that was true, and again, we don't truly know what happened, it's okay to be on a yacht. I don't understand why you're upset.
It's the optics of Urban Meyer being a sleazeball, and then when college football is falling apart, of course he's on a yacht. And that's just like
I just
of course.
think you don't like Urban Meyer, and
I
so
don't.
you're trying to find, and I don't particularly like him either, but you're trying to find a way for that video to like upset you because
No,
he is
I'm
on a
just
yacht.
saying- no, it's just like college football. College football is falling apart, and of course, Urban Meyer's on a yacht while this happens. Like, of course he is. That just makes too much
I
sense.
guess I don't get that connection.
Rob says maybe his doctor suggested it.
No, it's just because he has enough money. God knows, if I had the millions of dollars that Urban Meyer had, my ass would be doing this show on my yacht, and I would be talking about my yacht throughout the process of the show.
Ethan says Austin has boat envy. Maybe so. But again, like, I think it's Urban Meyer carries himself like he is a sleazebag. You disagree with that?
He has made some very, very questionable decisions over and over and over again through the course of his college football career.
And he has always come out on the good side of it and has gotten away with a lot of things. And again, I just think that the irony of college football that he ran from, because there was some serious problems at Ohio State that he ran from with Zach Smith. He ran from it, and now college football is falling apart in the
That
Big
happens
Ten.
a lot. I mean, if you think about it, Pete Carroll did the same thing.
I agree.
Chip Kelly did the
I'm not-
exact same thing.
And I'm not grandstanding or carrying a flag for those two coaches either. Like, that's my point, is that it's ironic that Urban Meyer runs away from Ohio State's problems, and while Ohio State and his former athletes having the worst day of their young lives because their football season's canceled, of course Urban Meyer's on a yacht. Of course.
Yeah, I don't know. I would be too. The funniest one, and this didn't happen, obviously, but if it was like, if he got caught doing something that he shouldn't be doing, and it was like in the mirror, somebody else, and that's how he got caught.
Oh, no, I'm not talking. Yeah, it's
I'm saying that he didn't realize, like, it would have been funnier, actually, if the guy, his buddy, was like trying to make him laugh because he was drunk.
Right. And Mark Beach understands what I'm saying. He says, I get what Austin's saying. He bolts when trouble is coming, and now he's hiding in luxury.
He's not really hiding.
No, you're right. He's not hiding in luxury, but
he's doing the opposite.
But
he's doing TV hits on his yacht where you know he's on a yacht.
Right. And it's obvious that he's on a
his
yacht.
nose looks like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
It's hilarious. And everybody wishes that guy, the shirtless guy, is Zach Smith, which would be really funny.
That would be terrible. That would be then I would have a massive issue if that would be bad.
Hey, at least Dom agrees with me. That's not a good look for him to me. Like, that's fine. You can do the TV hit whenever it calls. I just think Urban Meyer running from his problems, and then all of a sudden,
if you're rich, I truly believe you could do, if you want to be a dumbass and go bankrupt and buy a tiger like Mike Tyson, you can do that. And if you want to get on a yacht and buy a yacht, more power to you. If you have the money, might as well do it.
All right, A to Z Sports. Let's get to our shade, because I think both of us have solid shade. Mine's personal, and Zach's got personal shade too. So A to Z Sports, throwing shade time here on a Wednesday. So make sure you get your shade ready. But first, let me tell you about renterswarehouse.com. Renterswarehouse.com is where to go to find out how much your home can rent for. They are the professional landlords in the Nashville area. Renterswarehouse.com is where to find out how much your home can rent for. So they can help you out in so many different ways during this pandemic times. So hit them up, renterswarehouse.com.
A to Z Sports today, Defend the Crown Blitz 2001. We are 1-0. Going to have to change that graphic up top because we are 1-0. No longer week one is in the past. So tune into our social media. I'll be playing a little bit earlier today. Again, I got to kind of adapt as things come in waves, whether it's news, whether it's press conferences, whether it's meetings. I got a lot to handle, but I got to square out about 25 minutes, and you can too, of your day watching a Blitz champion play a video game.
Yeah, and Rob asked what was the score. You kicked a field goal almost as time expired to win 45-35 yesterday against the Bills. I think because you mentioned the line,
Well,
I
show me
think
shit.
I think I need to create a spread for every game.
You would just have to go through and see what the teams are ranked, because
Yeah.
if you play, this is actually true, is like the Jags in this game are really, really good because
Right.
they're coming off of their 13. Well, they're coming off their 14-2 season the year before,
Correct.
right? And the
Yes.
Titans are pretty good because they were a wild card team. So, and Peyton Manning, they're really good because the year before they were bad because they started 13-3, and then all of a sudden they were, or they started 3-13, now 13-3. So,
Right. Yeah.
he based off the team.
I would have to go back and look at that to create the spreads because obviously, like the Broncos aren't very good.
Feel
I don't-
free.
Yeah, right. But maybe we'll see how that happens. Okay, so shade time. So Jeff says, "Okay, time for my shade." Maybe he's typing a big monologue for a shade.
Is that Big Ten Jeff?
Big Ten Jeff, yeah, Big Ten Jeff is getting his shade ready. So I will start with my shade, and this directly impacts my ability to run our social media, digital media company, because Apple is absolutely sabotaging my phone. Because I have a iPhone X, it's just over 2 years old. I'm trying to hold out on buying the new phone for as long as possible because I just finished paying off my X and I don't want to have to go do it again. But I have a 64 gig iPhone X and I cannot use half of my storage space because the other category on my iPhone storage is taking up 34 gigs. How ridiculous is this? That photos, apps, system, and everything else in between is not even taking up half of my phone storage, but I cannot continue to take pictures and videos and create graphics because the other category is taking up 34 gigs. And I called the Apple store yesterday, and his response to me was, well, you gotta offload apps. I've done that. I've offloaded every app that I don't use. I've deleted apps that I don't use. He said, clear your cloud. Done that too. He said, go clear your cache on your Safari. Clear that out. Clear that memory out. Well, done that. And so he said the update to the new iOS that just hit my phone
Just happened.
2 days ago. So I had to delete Instagram for the time being so I could upload and do that. And the guy said it should fix it. And Mark Beach comes in with a joke that's not true. So, Zach, you know what the only option is that I have?
Throw your phone in the river.
No. It's I have to back up my phone on my computer and completely delete and clear all settings on my phone to get this.
There's
space
another
back.
way to do it.
I would love for you to tell me because I talked to the Apple guy yesterday.
How many photos do you have?
Not enough, not that many. I mean, only 1,000.
That's it.
That's it. I have tightened so many things down. So many things.
I'll tell you what you need to do. You need to spend, okay, $36. That's what it's going to cost you. If you had an out that was $36, would you take it?
Company card, get it?
No, because I do it and I have to pay for
I'm
it
kidding.
myself. I write it off on taxes because I use it for business, but you got to
Sure.
pay $299 to have 200 gigs of iCloud storage. So all of that other goes into the cloud, and you have 200 gigs per month. It's $2.99, $2.99. There is a solution to your problem. The other solution would be when you do get a phone. Is your screen still cracked?
Yes.
Why don't we show it?
Uh,
Little iPhone shame, real quick.
well, it's my screen itself isn't cracked. It's the cover. It's the cover
Okay.
thing on top.
So that's better. But the other thing is when you buy a new phone, if you're gonna pay $1,000 for a phone, pay like $1,100 or $1,200 instead of the 1,000, and get 284 gigs instead of the 64 that you have. So you never have that problem. You know how many photos I have, Austin?
Oh, probably 10,000.
10,000. You're exactly right. I have over 10,000 pictures on my phone. I pay $36 a year for 200 more gigs of iCloud storage.
Well, and normally, like this is just a problem in the last like week and a half. Like in the last week and a half, that other category has exploded because normally I carry 3,000 to 4,000 pictures.
And
with a lot
Tom, that's what we call a downgrade.
Yes.
Not an upgrade.
all you weak people who are like, go get okay, Robert, go get rid of Apple and get a real phone. No, you losers who have green text messages, you guys need to get a real phone and go Apple like the rest of the world. And plus, I've got my iPhone.
I know. I got a lot of Apple stock.
MacBook.
Apple.
I've got my iPad behind my MacBook. I am an Apple guy because I run a digital media company. Everybody that has Androids is just because they just have to text their parents.
That we should do that next Monday or Tuesday when we do our Indie Show topic. Are you a Apple or a Android person? Because I truly think that tells. I'm already in a world of judging. I immediately judge. Now I've hitched my wagon. I'm an Apple guy through and through. I always have been. The most stock that I have of all my portfolio is Apple, and I've had that for years. When I went to the beach as a cabana boy and made some money, I put it directly into Apple, and it's grown. It's good benefit. I've got a MacBook, I got an iPad, got a phone. Our company, all Macs, right? We bought Buck a Mac
and an iPad. Yeah.
So we'll do that next week because I'd be curious to see. You would think the majority of people would be Apple, but you get people. Like Tom that are saying Android. Crompton says he's got a Google Pixel. I don't even know what the hell that is.
I can't. It's because we run a digital.
Does it come with a Chromebook?
We run a digital media company, and therefore we have to have things that work together seamlessly, and that's why everybody that works with A to Z, they have Apple because it just makes more sense.
Hey, Big Ten Jeff, he's got Android, so this is maybe. And we will read Big Ten, and I haven't read this.
I'm scrolling to it, so you can go ahead and give your shade.
I'll get. Yeah, I can.
Or I've got Big Ten Jeff's shade. If you want me to go through that,
Go through.
all right. So Big Ten Jeff, I gotta scan it to make sure there's no bad words before I put it up on the screen.
Cancel.
Big Ten Jeff says shade on hypocrite Kevin Warren. Cancels Ohio State fall season, but lets his son play at Mississippi State. If it's so bad to play, you should make your son also not play. Shade on him for threatening Nebraska for trying to play in a different conference for 1 year. I want Ohio State to try to play in a different conference and see him try to pull a power move on us. Big Ten Jeff, big us Ohio State guy. Shade on Kevin Warren for being a hypocrite.
Hey, Big Ten Jeff, I don't think there's going to be any Buckeye stickers slapped on those helmets.
Should we call him Buckeye Jeff because he's an us guy?
Buckeye Jeff. He probably no, because he'd like Buckeye Jeff. People that get nicknames don't like their nicknames. So
Fair.
Big Ten, it's Big Ten Jeff because he doesn't like the Big Ten right now.
Right. And
Right? When you get a nickname and you don't like it, that's your nickname. It's like Squints or Smush or Dirt, or I got a couple that Slime. I've got a buddy. His nickname's Slime. You think he likes that? When
Probably
guys
not.
yell across the bar, "Hey, Slime!"
Yeah, I
who'd
bet
you
the guy
talking to?
who's also goes by Dirt doesn't like it either.
Yeah, and everybody calls him Dirt.
I
Sewer.
do.
I
I call him
another
Dirt.
buddy of mine named Sewer.
Y'all are weird.
Shake up.
Y'all are weird. Just saying that. And also hygiene does not sound like a popular thing amongst your friends.
Well, they all have different meanings that are all not suitable for work. Well, most of them are not suitable for work, which is even funnier of how you got the nickname. Because when people call you that, the first thing that they ask is, well, how'd you get the nickname? And if it's not suitable for work, I'll just go ahead. I don't know if
No,
it's
just let's move on.
right.
So what is your shade, Zach?
So my shade has to do with something I was dealing with this morning. It's Twitter. I enjoy Twitter. I don't love Twitter because I don't like the faceless you-know-whats that hide behind their avatar and come out and say, just cancel it, or you're an idiot,
I love
or
hate.
screw you. Trolls. I don't like trolls. And I don't like getting in arguments on Twitter because they take up a lot of my time. because I pride myself on being a well thought out individual. And so like, I don't want to say anything stupid. You got to make sure that you don't misspell anything, all those things. But the problem with Twitter is it's kind of a catch-22. I like the fact that when you like tweets, that kind of boosts them up and puts them in prominence. But also, I don't like that when you like a tweet that is about something that you don't truly like here, example. If you like a tweet that's funny, but it's humorous because you want to watch it later or send it to your buddy, now I have to go and text it to myself instead of liking it. Whether like if it's on either Joe Biden or Donald Trump, you can't like one because then everybody's like, oh, that guy's a Joe Biden guy or that guy's a Donald Trump guy. And then they start criticizing you, or you can like something else that doesn't, you don't want to pop up in other people's timeline.
The fact is that it's you, like we use our Twitter likes as a file cabinet, like is an organization tool, because I have TweetDeck, and on like my 9 or 10 TweetDeck columns, there's a column for my likes so I can access informational tweets that I want to quickly, right? And so I can't, if I disagree with something, but I like it for organizational purposes, there's no difference from how people view that on Twitter. So I agree. I think there should be a like button for things that you literally like. And then there should be a, can I save this for later button, or I want to, organize or file cabinet like Twitter.
I want to create, I want to first trademark Corona Ticks. And the second thing I want to do is create twitterspat.com where you go on.
Don't air out that idea. That's our idea.
It's not going to happen.
But don't tell us. No.
It's not going to happen. Austin, we've moved on. I'm trying to build a business so I can be on a yacht like Urban Meyer, and I don't think Twitter Spat's going to get me there.
But
I think
Zach,
that's going to be a deterrent.
The big difference in you and Urban Meyer is you don't run from your problems. That's my point. That's my point about Urban Meyer. You look your problems in the face and deal with them. Urban Meyer says, my heart hurts. I can't remember. And then he says, I'm out of here.
That's the reason why he has a yacht and I don't. I don't know. But that's the way I deal with things compared to him. You're right.
He has a yacht because he's brilliant when it comes to the spread offense, and he got Alex Smith to be a first overall draft pick.
And then he got Tim Tebow to be the greatest college football player of all time.
And he propped up Tim Tebow to hide all the murder that happened at Florida behind it.
And then he went undefeated with Ohio State.
And then he goes, oh, my memory. And then somebody's like, what happened on 3rd and 12 last year in the third quarter against Michigan? And he's like, oh, this happened. He's like, okay, never mind. I'm going to go on my yacht. That's Urban Meyer.
Choose what you want to remember, right?
Yeah, and Urban Meyer uses that to his fullest. When it comes to sexual assault, Urban Meyer forgets everything. But when it comes to football, he remembers it.
Yeah.
So that's why I feel the way I do about Urban Meyer being on a yacht while college football is crumbling around him. All right, guys, look, good show. Shade, strong shade for both of us. I got to figure out my damn phone because I
gave you solutions.
Yeah, it's spend money, and I was just trying to.
To fix problems, you have to throw money at it.
Yeah, well, and I would like to go through all the options of not having to spend money before I have to spend money. I knew spending money on iCloud space is probably the end game here.
Well, it's your choice. Are you willing to spend your time or your money? Because money will expedite the process. Time, you're going to be sitting there for a while, probably doing things that you don't want to do. And then when you have a question, you're just going to Google it, and that's going to be another task.
Yeah, but
take up more time.
When I have a question, you know what I'm not going to do? I'm not going to ask somebody else to Google it for me.
Well, Google it first and then ask questions. You tried to pull that crap on me the other day.
That was a joke, and you got.
It wasn't a joke.
It was a joke. It was a joke.
Do that.
It was a joke.
You cannot do that in that setting. A group text message where you've already thrown shade on that, and then you do it to me.
It was a
joke. Think that I, of all people, you know me pretty well. Of all people, would not Google something.
Okay, but that's the joke. That's why I jokingly said it to you. So here's the situation. So I threw shade a couple weeks ago on people that ask other people to Google something for them. Like, hey, what channel does the Preds game come on? Just Google it and you'll find that information, right? And so Zach texts me and Buck in our group message, hey, what day is roster cuts for the NFL? And I just said, how about you Google it, as a joke, following up from the shade conversation. And Zach just like immediately cusses me out. And I'm like, good Lord, man. I'm like checking out the grocery store. I was joking.
So try that with your wife the next time she asks you a question and see how it works. Huh? Say, hey, let's play the game. Next time she asks you a question, just say, why don't you Google it and see the reaction she gets?
Yeah, but
probably similar to the one that I gave.
I also know my wife, and the likeliness of that happening is low. The likeliness of me asking her to Google something for me is more likely than her. She actually does her research. She's a very well-researched person. So that's probably not likely.
I'm sure you could find, just like everybody asking a question, where you could say, Google it like a smart ass.
It was a joke, and you took it with like, I don't know what.
I took it exactly how you would think I would take it.
It was a joke. And Shrike says Zach just admitted to being the equivalent to Austin's wife.
No, I definitely don't.
No.
But I would say the reaction would be the same with the amount of time that we probably spend. Like, I talk to you quite a bit.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You talk to your wife quite a bit. So I'm not putting us on the same level by any means, but I am saying probably similar reaction, or maybe complete opposite reaction.
All right, guys. Hope you look again. An hour 20. These shows, because of what all is happening, are getting longer and longer, which is fine. You guys are watching, so I appreciate you guys watching this Wednesday show. We'll be back tomorrow morning. Titans Thursday. We have not talked Titans yet this week.
At all.
Yeah, really. Buck Rising had a really good 615 Sessions podcast that had his mom on it, which was funny. Tighten Up podcast episode out this morning as well. So check the podcast network. Great content as well. We'll see you guys tomorrow morning at 8. Thanks for watching.